Hey, Dr. Sheypuk, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for taking some time to talk about this really important subject. So, for those who don't know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. So I'm Dr. Danielle Sheypuk, and I am a clinical psychologist. I both live and practice here in Manhattan, and also in the past year, I won the title of Miss Wheelchair New York. So my expertise lies in the area of dating, relationships, and sexuality for people with physical disabilities.
Can you give us a little bit of background? What are the dating dilemmas that people with disabilities face?
Yeah, so the basic gist is this. It's dating is hard for everyone. And that's why, there's so many television shows and movies focused on finding the one, but when you throw in a disability or a wheelchair, things become extraordinarily more difficult. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of challenges that we face as people with disabilities. So I'll mention three really important ones. And the first one, the most important one, are the stereotypes and stigmas that are out there, and they are really entrenched in our society, and they're very negative. And some of them are include that if you have a disability or you're in a wheelchair, you're not sexual or asexual, won't make a good wife, won't make a good husband, won't make a good girlfriend, um, that you can't have sex or you're not attractive. And I mean, the list goes on and on. And then that brings me to my second um, challenge, and that's the fact that as humans, we take these negative stereotypes and we internalize them. Like we take the way others view us and kind of incorporate that into our self-image or self-esteem. And um, so all the lists that I listed can really impact your self-esteem in a very negative way. And I like to separate it between dateable self-esteem and regular self-esteem. So regular self-esteem is, for example, for myself, I feel good about my career. I feel good about my friends, um, my social life. But dating self-esteem can be quite different and separate. And if you're coming up against all these stigmas, it's really hard to view yourself as a dateable person. Someone who's worthy of being dated, or have the confidence to go out there. And that can lead people with disabilities to give up on dating altogether, and that's really really unfortunate. And I guess the third challenge I want to mention are the environmental barriers that we face. And that's simply, it's hard to, it's just harder to get around if you're in a wheelchair. So it makes it harder to get to that restaurant or get to that coffee shop. And also the presence of home attendants. We often have home attendants that we need to do basic life functions. So they're with us. And lastly, um, the family and our friends, and the fact that people, they kind of don't want to talk about it, or families tend to be protective or overprotective of their disabled child. So they kind of shelter them from the normal dating experiences that an able-bodied person would have.
We have a user at Dynavox. Her name's Megan. She's a teenager with cerebral palsy, and she recently wrote some really honest blog posts about dating. What did you think of those blog posts she wrote?
Oh, I loved Megan's blog post. I think she's great and beautiful, and her words are poignant, and her message is powerful. And I think it's super important because Megan's a teenager, and I think it's very important for us to hear the teen voice on the topic, because that's when we go through puberty and when we start, thinking about romance and dating. And again, for teenagers in wheelchairs, it's often an ignored topic. Um, the literature actually shows that um, sometimes they're they're even bypassed in terms of like sex education, um, and things like that. So it's has some um, it's a real issue of wellness, which Megan is bringing up. So that's really important.
Great. If you could talk to Megan right now, what advice would you give her?
Well, I would tell her to keep doing her hair the way she's doing it, and I like her lipstick. But on a bigger level, I would tell her that, um, blogging about it and talking about it is so important because, again, this is a topic that people don't talk about. And when we do talk about it, it makes people uncomfortable. And this feeds into all the negative stereotypes and stigmas. So Megan simply blogging about it is changing. It's changing the dynamics of what's out there. So that's really important. And I like how she brings up the issue of home attendants, because she mentions needing home attendants to go out on a date, and that's a very real concern. So I would tell her, and this is kind of my number one uh, piece of advice and something that I keep repeating, that there's ways around it. So even though you have a home attendant, you can um, negotiate that and still go out on a date. So I don't really care what disability you have. It is possible for you to date and have romance like anyone else. The more Megan writes about it, the more she tries and goes on dates, the more society sees that all these stereotypes are inaccurate and totally unfair.
Excellent. Well, keep up the good work. For people who might want to learn more about you, where can they get more information?
They can go to my website, daniellesheypuk.com.
Great, and we'll make sure that people have an accurate spelling. So, thank you so much for your time. This was really
Yeah,
valuable information. Good luck with everything, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
thank you very much.